am I recommending the show so more people will write fan fiction about it? Kind of. Hi, I'm Claudia, and I watch so many TV shows. Like, at this point, it is a problem how many, like, ongoing TV shows I watch, because sometimes I wake up in the morning and I have 7 new episodes to watch. But anyway, so most of my favourite TV shows, including my absolute favourite show, 911, have just had their season finale, which means they are now on break until, like, September, October time, which means I have like nothing to watch for the next several months. So for me, that means rewatching a lot of my favourite shows, but I thought since a lot of people might not have anything to watch, I'd recommend you some of my favourite shows so that you have something to watch in the break too. And there will be no spoilers for any of these shows in this video. I will give like a general overview, but I won't spoil anything about them. I'm also going to tell you where to find these shows in the UK. I'm not sure about anywhere else, you might have to Google it. Sorry, I'm British, so I know where these shows are in the UK. I'm also going to be telling you like how many seasons the show has and if it's ongoing or if it's like finished, so you can like kind of factor that into your decision. So the first show I'm going to recommend, which I know I've already mentioned it, but it's my favourite show ever, it's 911. I love 911 so much. The characters are perfect, the writing is mostly perfect, sometimes when they're not angering the entire fan base. But anyway, has there ever been a TV show that has perfect writing? Because I personally don't think that exists, but 911 gets pretty close some of the time. I love this show so much that I bought a shirt with my favourite character on. That's how much I love this show. If you can't tell by the title, it is very much an emergency services show. It follows mainly a group of firefighters at Station 118 in LA, but also like a police officer who's like always there as well, and also a couple of dispatchers who work at the 911 call centre. I've been watching the show for 4.5 years. I first watched it in like late 2020. I was 15 then, I'm 20 now, and I still love it just as much as the first day I watched it. So I would highly recommend, even if you don't like usually emergency services shows or procedurals, I would highly recommend watching 911, because a lot of the time it's like a fun little comedy as well as being like a serious drama show. I love a good like comedy filler episode, and the filler episodes of 911 are so good. 911 just finished its 8th season and has been renewed for season 9, so it will be coming back this autumn. And you can watch 911 on Disney Plus in the UK, and I believe it's on like Hulu in America, but we don't have that over here, so it's just on Disney Plus. It also has currently 2 spin-off shows. The first one, 911 Lone Star, has 5 seasons, and that one finished last year, I believe. And then the second spin-off, 911 Nashville, has only like very recently been announced. They're still, I believe, casting for it. Filming hasn't even begun, so like obviously you can't watch that yet. I am by no means recommending 911 Lone Star. I think the original is way better, but if you watch the original you might also want to watch Lone Star. There also is like a crossover episode which I believe is on Lone Star, not the original, so you might want to watch that if you like want more content from the original 911. Just make sure you watch the original before you watch Lone Star. I wouldn't do it the other way around. Trust me, take it from someone who did do it the other way around the first time. Watch the original first. Anyway, my second show I'm going to recommend, I know you've probably heard it before, it's Grey's Anatomy. I've been watching Grey's Anatomy for about as long as I've been watching 911, and I love Grey's Anatomy so much. It's such a good show. If you don't know what Grey's Anatomy is, it's a medical drama which follows the lives of doctors in a Seattle hospital. And the show started in 2005, which means as of right now, in 2025, season 21 has just finished. I know like 21 seasons can seem a bit daunting, but trust me, it's so worth it. When I first watched it, there were 16 seasons available in the UK, and I thought I was never going to get to the end, and then I finished them all in 3 weeks. It is just such a good show, and I love it so much. And the good thing is, because there's so many seasons, if you like stop at like say season 8 because you just can't go on with it anymore, you can just rewatch it again and there's still like a long show for you to watch. And that's perfectly fine, you know, 21 seasons is a lot of TV to watch. And it's also been confirmed that Grey's has been renewed for another season, so that's coming in like September. So if you want to watch up to date, I recommend doing it before September when the new season comes out. But if you don't, that is perfectly fine. Just stop when you feel you can't do it anymore. But Grey's Anatomy also has 2 spin-off shows, plus like the YouTube series, but I don't really count that as a TV show. The first one is Private Practice. Private Practice takes place in LA, and it follows one of the original characters from Grey's, Addison Montgomery, as she moves to LA and joins a medical practice there. Of the 2 spin-offs, it is my preferred one. I'm sorry, there's just something about Private Practice. So if you do watch Grey's and you do enjoy Addison Montgomery, I would highly recommend watching Private Practice. It is a very good show. It's kind of the same as Grey's in that it's still like a medical show, but it's more like a medical practice, so it's smaller, there's less doctors, they're doing more like appointment stuff rather than Grey's, which is all just surgery. And it's only 6 seasons, so it's a lot shorter, and it finished like 10 years ago, so like there's no new seasons coming out. And you can obviously watch it without ever having watched Grey's, but you might not be as like up to date on some of the characters' backstories. Private Practice starts at the same time season 4 of Grey's Anatomy starts, so if you really want to just watch Private Practice, I would say watch the first 3 seasons of Grey's Anatomy and then watch Private Practice. And there are some like not crossover episodes, but characters from Grey's come on to Private Practice for certain reasons, so you will get spoilers for Grey's Anatomy while you're watching Private Practice, but I would still highly recommend watching it. It is such a good show. The other Grey's Anatomy spin-off is Station 19. Station 19 got 7 seasons and only got cancelled, I believe, last year. Station 19 is a firefighter show, so if you like 911, you'll probably like Station 19, but it is much more intertwined with Grey's Anatomy than Private Practice is, because it also takes place in Seattle. So what would happen is like you'd watch an episode of Station 19 where they like rescue a patient from a fire, and then that patient goes on to be on Grey's Anatomy and they're treating them, that kind of thing. And a lot of the characters sort of interact across the shows, date across the shows, all that kind of thing. And I know I said Private Practice is my favourite of the 2 spin-offs, but I do still love Station 19. It's a great show and I really do enjoy watching it. I do kind of miss it, weirdly enough, now it's gone, because it used to be like every week you'd watch Station 19 and Grey's Anatomy, and now it's just Grey's Anatomy. But it is a great show and I do highly recommend it, especially if you've watched Grey's Anatomy. You can watch it on its own if you don't want to watch Grey's Anatomy, but it's going to be a bit harder to follow the storylines, so just take that into account while you're making your decision. And all 3 Grey's Anatomy shows, so Grey's Anatomy, Station 19 and Private Practice, are available on Disney Plus in the UK. And now I should move on to the next show, because I've been talking about the Grey's Anatomy universe for quite a while now. My next show I'm going to recommend to you is Code Black. I love Code Black so much. Code Black is my favourite medical drama, and I still think it's criminal. It only ever got 3 seasons, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. Code Black is set in LA, it's set in the ER of a very busy hospital, and it follows a group of doctors and nurses who work in this very busy ER. Code Black doesn't have like the same comedy elements that maybe Grey's Anatomy and 911 do. It's a bit more serious, not all the time, but is still like more serious than those other shows. And I love the characters and I love the show so much, and I don't feel like it's appreciated well enough. I never see anyone talking about Code Black like anywhere, and it's such a good show. As I said before, it only ever got 3 seasons before it got cancelled in 2018, so you don't have to ever worry about there ever being another one, unfortunately. And in the UK it's available to watch on Disney Plus. Also, like, word of warning if you're a 911 fan, the actor who plays Owen Strand on Lone Star is in Code Black. I can't remember his name in this very moment, but he is in Code Black. I didn't want you to be like jump scared by him. And if you've watched Station 19, the actor who plays Robert Sullivan, he's in Code Black as well. But I highly recommend Code Black, especially if you want to watch a medical drama but not one that's like as long as Grey's Anatomy. Do Code Black. It's only 3 seasons. Season 2 and 3 as well are like half-length seasons. I think season 2 has 16 episodes and season 3 only has 10. And season 1 has, I think, 18 episodes. So really there's not that much for you to watch, but it's such a good show and it deserved so many more seasons. Am I recommending the show so more people will write fanfiction about it? Kind of, but also I just really want more people to watch the show because it's so good and I love it so much. And then staying on medical dramas, my next recommendation is The Resident. It follows a group of doctors and nurses in a hospital in Georgia this time. I love The Resident so much. It has 6 seasons and you can watch it on Disney Plus in the UK. It finished a couple years ago, so it's not getting any new seasons. And The Resident is so good, but it is quite serious. Like, Grey's Anatomy very much has a comedic element to it, especially in like mid-season when they're not dealing with whatever trauma happens at the beginning and end of each season, whereas The Resident is very much like serious all the way through, dark themes, a lot of trauma. So if that's not your vibe, maybe don't watch The Resident, but if it is, I would highly recommend it. I do really enjoy The Resident. It is just very dark at times, so I don't rewatch it like loads, and because it is so serious, it's not like super high on my rankings, but it is a very good show and I would highly recommend it if you've never seen it before. My next medical drama to recommend is New Amsterdam. I don't actually know how popular New Amsterdam is because I've never actually looked at fan fictions for it because it's kind of never been like something I've wanted to read fan fiction for. Not in like it's a bad show way, more in like there's no like ships I'm super into in New Amsterdam. But New Amsterdam is a really good show. It again follows doctors and nurses at a hospital. And they always say in the show that New Amsterdam's one of like the last public hospitals in America, and I have never really understood what that means. Look, I'm from the UK. We have free healthcare. I do not understand the American healthcare system to this day. But it is a really good show. It is a bit more on the serious side. Not as serious as The Resident, but definitely definitely not as comedic as like Grey's Anatomy. There are some like really funny like filler episodes in the middle, but usually each episode follows the medical director trying to like solve a crisis, because the medical director is very much like the main character of New Amsterdam. And yeah, he's the main character, but there is very much still an ensemble cast, and you do follow like the personal lives of all the other doctors as well as the main character. Because there can be some shows where it feels like, yeah, it's an ensemble cast, but we're only focusing on like the personal life of one character. But New Amsterdam isn't really like that. And like the start and end of each series where it's like super traumatic, that can be like a lot in New Amsterdam. They tend to go for like the saddest things and then do that, which is always quite interesting. The thing with New Amsterdam is it kind of has like the best of both worlds, in that sometimes it can be like super funny and super comedic, and then at other times it's like really dark, and there will be like one episode after the other. So if you're not into that, maybe don't watch it. But if you've watched Grey's Anatomy and you can handle like the start and end of each season where something horrible happens, then you'll probably be good with New Amsterdam. New Amsterdam, I believe, has 5 seasons, and it finished a couple of years ago, so it's never coming back. And in the UK, I think you can watch it on Netflix. And my next medical drama, this one is actually kind of an unusual one. I don't often see people talking about it. It's Called the Midwife. I love Called the Midwife so much. Called the Midwife is a British show. I think it's actually one of like 2 British shows on my entire list. It's made by the BBC, and it follows the lives of midwives and nuns working in the East End of London. And you know, it also is a historical drama. It very much takes place in the past. The show starts in like the mid-50s, and right now it's in like the early 70s. I believe season 13 was the most recent season, and it has been renewed for another one. And they've announced that they're making a film as well, which is very exciting. And they're making a prequel series taking place during World War II. I am so excited. The entire premise of Called the Midwife is, you know, delivering babies. That's why it's called Called the Midwife. But it also goes through a lot of like major medical developments that were happening at the time, and you kind of get to see what it would have been like at that time. And you get to see them kind of struggle to keep up with change as like the NHS becomes like the big thing. And yes, there are nuns delivering babies. That's just kind of like the way it was back in that time. But there is like a slight worry for me that Called the Midwife is going to end soon, because, you know, they can only go up to a certain point still being historically accurate. Like at the start of the show, these midwives and nuns were going to these women's houses and people were having home births all the time. And now we've reached a point where they have like this maternity home that a lot of the women are giving birth in. But especially in the 70s, most women were having their babies in hospital, which means the midwives just weren't needed anymore. Which is kind of sad, because it means Called the Midwife is probably going to end soon. But that means it's also the perfect time to start watching it. The next season isn't going to start until Christmas, so you've got plenty of time. And each season is like 8 to 10 episodes. The actual seasons are like 8 episodes, but then there's always a 2-part Christmas special which takes up to 10 episodes. And it's a BBC show, so in the UK you can get it on BBC iPlayer, but it was on Netflix for a bit, so I don't know if you can still get it on Netflix. But my last medical drama I have to recommend, it's not just a medical drama, it's a franchise, and that is the One Chicago franchise. This is made up of 3 different TV shows: Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med. I love all 3 of them so much. The titles do kind of give the game away for each one. You know, Chicago Fire is firefighters, Chicago PD is the police, and Chicago Med is doctors and nurses. But they all very much are intertwined. You see characters going across different shows, characters are related across different shows, characters date across different shows. And the shows are, like, at this point quite long, but I would highly recommend watching them. Chicago Fire is the oldest one, that has 13 seasons. Chicago PD has 12 seasons, and Chicago Med has 10 seasons. And I believe they have all been renewed for another season, like, as far as I know. Currently in the UK, we're at like the start of the most recent season. They've only just started airing, so like I don't know what happens at the end of the season yet, but I think they have all been renewed. Obviously you don't have to watch all 3 shows, but I would highly recommend watching all 3. And if you do want to watch like all 3 shows in the right order, you can like look up how to watch them. If you Google like how to watch the One Chicago franchise, it'll probably come up with like a list of what order you need to watch each episode in, because sometimes it's not just as simple. It goes Med Fire PD, Med Fire PD. Sometimes it's all like mixed up and it's very confusing, but there are people out there who have catalogued it for you, so you just need to like follow the list. But obviously if you're like just into like firefighter shows, say you're a fan of 911, you can just watch Chicago Fire and you'll probably be fine. There are a few crossover episodes, but nothing too bad, and usually when there is a crossover, they'll put at the start like a flashback to what has happened in the other show. And I think off the top of my head there's only one like 3-part crossover, which like you can probably figure out through like Googling if you really need to. Like I first watched Chicago Med on its own, and then I watched Chicago PD on its own, And then like a year ago now, I thought, no, I'm finally gonna sit down and watch all 3 shows in the right order. And I fell in love with all 3 shows. I love them so much. In the UK, they're available on Amazon Prime, and then the new seasons are available on Sky. And I highly recommend you watch all 3 shows. They are so good. I love them so much. And there is so much good fan fiction written about them, so you're not going to be like lacking in fan fiction. There is so much to read. Like, I am planning on writing fan fiction about Chicago PD. That's how much I love this show. Like, especially when you consider that the only show I've written fan fiction about has been 911. Like, Chicago PD is pretty up there for me to be writing fan fiction about it, but I'd highly recommend you watch it. It is so good and I love it so much. And now we're finally done with medical dramas / medical drama like franchises, we can finally move on to some more like crime / police drama shows. Firstly, Criminal Minds. I love Criminal Minds so much. Now this is probably my more popular one that I'm going to talk about because most people have probably heard of Criminal Minds. Obviously it's very long. It got like 15 seasons in its original run, and then like they did a reboot which is like Evolution, which I believe is on like season 3 of Evolution. I personally have never watched all the way to the end of Criminal Minds, which I know is sacrilege, but I'm still recommending it because I still think it's such a good show. It is very dark though, you know, you've got like the FBI investigating like really violent crimes, so you know it's going to be pretty dark. But if you're into that, highly recommend Criminal Minds. It's so good. And Criminal Minds is available on Disney Plus in the UK, but I'm not sure about anywhere else. My next 2 are kind of like mid-popularity level. So my next recommendation is the TV show Castle. I do enjoy Castle. It's like not my favorite, but I do think it's quite fun. Basically, it revolves around this detective and this author who, through like very convoluted means, end up teaming up to work for the NYPD together. And they solve crimes together, and it's pretty fun. And you might recognize the main guy from Castle because I believe he's also the main guy from The Rookie, but I haven't watched The Rookie yet. Everyone says The Rookie is good. Please can someone tell me if it's worth me watching The Rookie in the comments, because I don't know whether I should watch it or not. But Castle is a good show. It's fun. It's a lot less serious apart from like at the beginning and end of a season, because you know shows always tend to get serious for the premiere and for the finale. And Castle, I believe, has 7 seasons, or it might have 8. I personally have never watched the end because I always get a bit bored before that. It does sometimes get a bit repetitive, you know, the constantly solving crimes, but if you're into that, I think you'd really enjoy it. Castle ended about 10 years ago, I think, so like there's no new seasons, and in the UK you can watch it on Disney Plus. And then my next one I'm going to recommend is Bones. I love Bones. I think I love Bones more than Castle, but I enjoy Castle, but I do think I enjoy Bones a bit more. But I've also never finished Bones, but mainly because Bones has like 15 seasons. I think I got to like season 9, I think, the first time I watched it, and then I was like, no more, I can't do this anymore. The show follows Dr. Temperance Brennan, who's a forensic anthropologist helping the FBI solve crimes. She's like the main character alongside Agent Seeley Booth, who's like the FBI guy. And then there's like a team of other scientists in the lab who are also very much like the ensemble cast. And it's a pretty good show, but because they're just constantly like looking at bones, it just kind of does get like quite repetitive. Like the show kind of does follow a very like repeatable format. The only thing that differs is like each case is slightly different, but it's always like they're looking at a skeleton, which I think is why I never got like super into it. But I do highly recommend it. It's a very good show. Just for me, I couldn't watch all the way to the end. I got a bit bored. But if it's your thing, I think you'd really enjoy it. And it has some really good comedy moments as well, which I think is really good for a show like that where most of it is quite dark. But Bones, I think, does have 15 seasons and is available on Disney Plus in the UK. Next is one of my favourite shows at the minute, and that is Dr. Odyssey. Dr. Odyssey's first season just ended, so it's like a very new show, and in the UK it's available on Disney Plus. It follows the medical team on a cruise ship, and I know I said I was done with medical dramas, but Dr. Odyssey is like the least medical drama of them all. Like, it's not set in a hospital, which every other medical drama is. It is set on a boat, and it's pretty cool. It has currently not been renewed for season 2, and it is looking like it is going to get cancelled after 1 season, which is really disappointing. But I would still highly recommend watching the 1 season that we do have, because it is so good. But back to crime shows, my next one also only has 1 season, and that's Dead Boy Detectives. It's a Netflix show, so it should be available on Netflix like literally everywhere. And I'm still mad it got cancelled after 1 season. Like, Netflix, please bring it back. It's about these 2 ghost boys who solve crime, and then they end up getting stuck somewhere and they have to get out. There's a lot of like supernatural elements, and I don't mean Supernatural the show, I mean like ghosts and stuff. I never watched the show Supernatural though, so it could be like Supernatural, but I wouldn't know. I would highly recommend watching Dead Boy Detectives. It's so good. It's still a crime, it only got 1 season, but I can't really say much without spoiling it because it's only 1 season. And I believe it's only like 8 or like 12 episodes. It's not very long, so I would highly recommend watching it for like a short little one. And then my last little crime show is Rosewood. You might recognise one of the main characters in Rosewood, who I forget the name of, because She's played by the same actress who plays Herrera on Station 19. I think it only has 2 seasons, but it might have 3. I'm pretty sure it only has 2 though. It's on Disney Plus in the UK, and it's kind of similar to Bones. It follows a detective and this like private coroner who calls himself, I think, like a forensic pathologist, but it basically just means the same thing. At least to me, someone who like doesn't have much knowledge in like that area, it means the same thing. But they work together to solve crimes in, I believe, Miami? I think it's set in Miami, off like the top of my head. It finished years ago, so you don't need to worry about there ever being another season, but the 2 seasons that are there are pretty good. I would recommend watching it if you want like another little like short show to watch, and if you like crime stuff, you'll probably like it as well. And then I only have 2 more shows left, okay, so like stay with me here. But my next 2 are like pure comedies, which I haven't like recommended at all yet. Firstly, we have Abbott Elementary. It's available on Disney Plus in the UK, and it currently has 4 seasons, and I'm pretty sure it has been renewed for a next one. It follows a group of teachers at an elementary school and kind of all the things they get up to. It's a really funny comedy show. I really enjoy it, and I didn't think when I started watching it I would enjoy it as much as I did, just because, you know, it's set in an American elementary school and I'm British and I don't really understand, like, you know, I don't know what elementary schools are like because I never went to one. But even if you're not American and you never went to elementary school, I do think it's a really funny show that a load of people should watch. It's so good. So I would highly recommend Abbott Elementary if you're a comedy fan, or even if you're not a comedy fan, you know, everyone needs a good laugh. Then my last show I'm going to recommend is Ghosts, specifically the UK version. It got, I think, 5 seasons before it ended, and in the UK you can watch it on BBC iPlayer. No idea about anywhere else, sorry. It was a BBC show, that's why it's on BBC iPlayer. And if you're British and you're like my age, you might recognise most of the people in it because it stars the original Horrible Histories cast. I grew up on Horrible Histories, so I very much enjoyed seeing them in Ghosts. And I believe they did like all the writing for it as well, and it's very much they wrote, produced and acted in it, which is really cool. But it follows this couple that inherit this giant like old house, and then one of them falls out a window, and when she wakes up she can see all the ghosts that live there. And it basically just kind of follows their like antics as this couple try and turn this like big old house into a hotel while also trying to like appease the ghosts that live there. It's very funny. It was a great show. I was devastated when it ended, although I kind of did understand like it had to end at some point. It has a great ending though, which like I can't say for many of these shows on this list, but it has an absolutely great ending. Obviously they've now made the US version. I've personally never watched it, so I cannot speak for it, but if you are American, you might want to watch that instead. A lot of the ghost lives focus very much on like British history, which like I don't know how much you would understand if you're not British, whereas from what I've seen of the American one, it focuses very much on American history, so if you're like more versed in American history, you might enjoy the US version more. But I know nothing about the US version though. I don't know how many seasons it's got. I don't know if it's still ongoing. You will have to find that out yourself. Go Google it or something. But if you want to watch a comedy and you want to watch specifically a British comedy, highly recommend Ghosts. It's very much British humour though. But if you enjoy like British comedy shows, especially like panel shows like Taskmaster, then I would highly recommend watching Ghosts. In fact, a few of the people who are in Ghosts have been on Taskmaster, so you might recognise some faces. And yeah, I think that's all the shows I have to recommend. If you end up watching one of these shows and you enjoy it, leave a comment down below. Or just put down there what your favourite show is and recommend me some, because I've literally nothing to watch. I've watched too many TV shows at this point. And if you enjoyed this video, maybe leave a like on it or subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. I post a lot of like fanfiction / fandom stuff, so if you enjoy that, you probably will enjoy most of my other videos. And if you want to see more fanfiction stuff, then I post new TikToks every single day. And this is Claude over on TikTok as well as on Twitter and Blue Sky. And also on AO3 if you want to check out my 911 fix. But yeah, I've been Claudia. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll hopefully see you all soon. Bye!